You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And as we look at the box office for this past weekend, it is a perfect example of why movie theaters will continue to struggle. We talk about there being a dearth of movies. In other words, movie theaters have fewer movies to even show. And the ones which are coming out are not staying in theaters for any real length of time. They're going straight to streaming after a couple of weeks. And the movies which are in theaters and not staying very long are not of the same quality. Let me just put it that way. The number one movie this week in all of America, and basically, you know, you come in right after a holiday weekend. I'm not sure everyone is even back in school as far as college. So there's still a movie-going public out there. And I understand fires in California, but we're talking about the whole country. The number one movie was Flight Risk, the Mark Wahlberg movie, and I'm not so sure I want to see it. Wasn't released internationally, only grossed $11.5 million domestically. $11.5 million, the number one movie. What does that tell you? And it was in 3,100 theaters. That is a wide release. 3,100 theaters. It means that people were not going to the movies at all. The number two movie was Mufasa, the Lion King, in its sixth week. Brought in $8.5 million for a worldwide total of $627 million. And we talk about movie theaters need people to come to the theater throughout the week. It used to be theaters were open 7 days a week. You're seeing more and more theaters only open, let's say, 4 or 5 days a week. They may be open Thursday through Monday. They're not staying open the whole week, or they're not showing as many screenings of movies like they used to.
Did you know that Mel Gibson directed Flight Risk?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I thought he was banned. I guess that's it.
No.
Mel Gibson is back.
He was never canceled.
No?
He was highly criticized for a period of time, but he never stopped acting, never stopped directing, was not excommunicated from Hollywood, wasn't banned from any type of ceremony in the way that Will Smith was banned from the Oscars. Now, he's an older actor, so I don't think it's fair to expect him to have the type of stardom that he once enjoyed when he was a part of the Lethal Weapon franchise, for example. Yeah. He's not a leading man in that regard anymore. But it's not like he's ever stopped acting. Isn't he like ambassador to Hollywood or something now? What was he getting?
Or another.
Trump gave him some sort of ambassadorship. Yeah. But my point is he never disappeared off the scene. So he was never canceled. Flight Risk was number one. Mufasa, Lion King, number two. Number three, One of Them Days. Number four, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I don't care what anyone says. I just can't watch a Sonic Hedgehog movie.
That's where my son says it's one of the best movies of the year.
I got to draw the line at Sonic the Hedgehog. And your 18-year-old son talking about the best movie of the year. Let's put it in context, okay?
Foosh likes Sonic the Hedgehog stuff?
It's one of the best movies of the year.
No, I wouldn't say not to the best movie of the year, but it was really well done. If you know the story.
Yeah, and I don't.
And you don't.
So I didn't even play the game. So, Moana 2 was number 5, still hanging around in its 9th week, surprisingly enough. But these are depressed totals. It's not like people are going to the movies in large numbers. That's why you have the number one movie only 11.5 million. There aren't any big movies coming for what, another 2 weeks?
Yeah, for February 14th.
America?
Captain America.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's another dearth. It's another, I think, February. Then I think maybe March there's one. But then after that, it's all the way till May.
Yeah, it's really difficult for theaters to stay in business, to pay the 16-year-old kid with acne to run the popcorn and also, the cashier. It's really difficult for movie theaters to stay open 7 days a week, showing movies from, let's say, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. when the movies are just not there in terms of quality, in terms of appeal, to bring people in 7 days a week. That's a long time for a business to stay open for mediocre movies or movies which have already been in the box office for a number of weeks. Sonic the Hedgehog has been in theaters for 6 weeks. God bless them for them even keeping it in theaters that long. But people are not running to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and 4 times. Moana 2, one of the biggest movies of the past 365 days. It crosses the year. But people are not, lining up to see Moana 2 anymore. That's why it only brought in $4 million this week, but it's still in the top 10.
Yeah.
This business model is not going to work for movie theaters going forward. I don't know what it's going to turn into, but we had a friend who was just talking to us in text, Dr. Liz, who was talking about how she went to see The Brutalist this weekend. Said it was like 3.5 hours with an intermission. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to a movie with an intermission that's 3.5 hours long. That means it's a 4-hour affair, not including drive time both ways. I would much rather, assuming I even wanted to see the movie, I would much rather wait 3 or 4 weeks and catch it on some streaming service. Why? Because the Oscars are going to make sure that it's available for streaming.
The Brutalist is a long haul. I watched it over the weekend, and it took me a couple sittings to get through it.
Can't do that.
But it's really good.
You got to pay attention, right?
It's a terrific movie.
You have to pay attention the whole way?
It helps.
I can't watch it and do my laundry, and rearrange my sock drawer. Change the linen on my bed.
Maybe you could speed it up like a quarter speed extra, but I'm not sure you'd really get everything you should be getting out of it. It's worth seeing, but I too, am given pause by a movie that takes a half a day to watch.
Do people actually do that? I see those speed settings, especially on Netflix, and I wonder, I've never sped up a movie to watch it because I was rushed for time. It seems like it would throw off the rhythm of the dialogue and everything.
You'd have to have absolutely no respect for the thing that you're consuming.
I think it's more common with podcasts because it's just audio, so it just speeds up their speaking. And the only time I've ever sped up video is like a YouTube, like, okay, let's get to the point. But yeah, I couldn't do it to a movie.
They have that option on Netflix. You can do 1.25, 1.5 times. No, it's just, if I'm going to enjoy a movie, then I'm going to enjoy it as it was intended to be enjoyed. If I have to rush through it for whatever reason, then I'm just denying myself the whole experience and the enjoyment of the movie.
Well, settle in then with some food, some hydration, some extra clothing for The Brutalist. It is a long haul.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to watch it. One, because I'm not really big into what I call period pieces. I'm just, I'm just looking for escape, action, and it seems like it's real heavy.
It's got some heavy spots, but it is worth seeing.
I'm looking right now.
Is there any nudity? Sex scenes?
Well, I had a joke on Saturday night that it looks like you may get to see Adrian Brody's Little Brutalist at some point.
I heard that. I said to myself, Mark, you are tiptoeing.
Yeah.
That wasn't exactly what I meant.
Well, I mean, you said nudity. I would. What do you want?
Thank you for answering the question, but I'm just saying that doesn't enhance my desire to see the movie.
Well, that's what you say.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere. Damn, Mark Ronner. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with you. Get him out of this studio. All those nice things I said about him at the top of the show, I take them all back.
Mo, you're the real brutalist.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And you may not have heard of the Allen Media Group. You may be more familiar with the Weather Channel, or you may have heard of the media mogul Byron Allen, but not made the connection. Well, Byron Allen, who owns Allen Media Group, has been receiving a lot of criticism as of late because Allen Media Group was going to lay off or reassign workers across all of its nearly 24 TV stations, including Fox, NBC, ABC, CBS affiliates from California and Hawaii to Alabama and Arizona. And they had already announced this because they wanted to move in more like regional weathercasters instead of having the local ones in the individual markets. Think of it this way. Let's say they wanted to get rid of KFI and you would just have a local Los Angeles or a West Coast radio news source, something like that. You get rid of all the personalities, get rid of John Cobell, get rid of Bill Handel, get rid of Mo Kelly. Yay! I know. Get rid of Gary and Shannon. And then they would have someone maybe in New Mexico or something giving a regional forecast or regional news for Los Angeles and all the Western United States. That was what was going to happen just for weathercasters. And you can imagine the pushback against that has been tremendous. But because of that pushback, Allen Media reportedly will not fire local meteorologists after viewer backlash. And there are a couple of things that should be brought out about this. And I know that Tuwalis talked about it from a radio syndication standpoint. I know Mark has talked about it from a news information standpoint. I just talk about it from an economics standpoint, where when big business, be it big tech, corporations, when they have an opportunity to consolidate, they will. When they have an opportunity to pay fewer people or increase the workload of people for no cost, they will. That, unfortunately, is how capitalism works. We always talk about, oh, we live in a capitalistic society. We can't be socialist, can't be communist. Well, this is the other side of that. This is how corporations get down, where why hire 10 people to do 10 jobs when I could have one person who can do those 10 jobs? That's why you will see syndicated talent moving out local hosts in radio. That's why you will see syndicated television shows, and you'll get rid of your local programming, and you're going to see it in every facet of media. And of course, with print media, you're seeing it exponentially so. They're just getting rid of local journalists, local outlets. Remember, no, you wouldn't remember, Mark, because you didn't live here, but there were these smaller local papers like the L.A. Herald Examiner.
Well, they've been going extinct essentially ever since I started as a young baby reporter. I mean, it's been an ongoing extinction. And the thing you have to know is that the less of that you have, the less you know, the less information you have to make decisions about your life.
Yep.
Because, they're not going to be sending people to local city council meetings, school board meetings. Those are all local newspaper things to cover. And you need to know what's going on at those places, because in the absence of holding people accountable, what do you get? You get cheating and corruption and people cutting corners and self-dealing and all sorts of things you probably don't want.
But see, that is journalism when it is performing at its best. Now we have corporate media, which is profit motivated. I'm not saying that newspapers don't have a profit motive, but it's completely different now.
Yeah, they can have the motive.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of profit. And we should point out to people who are, still in the fetal stage of development that networks used to regard the news as a loss leader. It was a public service and they didn't require it to make a profit. That's what all their other programming did.
Yes, but now it's looked at, and this is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is a result of the cable media phenomenon where people realize, wait a minute, we can make millions and millions of dollars of just telling people what they want to hear and just providing news, air quotes, in the form of entertainment, as opposed to actually giving facts of the who, what, when, where, why, and how.
I know, and I torture myself by going on YouTube and watching old clips of Edward R. Murrow and old school, really capital J journalists. And it is torture when you hold it up against some of the idiot propaganda that we see that passes itself off as news today, but that really isn't. And, like when you hear about the kind of things that journalists are disciplined for, I think there was a weather lady who, at a local station, who was fired for, on her own time, criticizing Elon Musk's really obvious Sieg Heil salute.
And correctly, accurately characterizing it.
Oh, yeah, please. There's no legitimate debate that it was anything other than that. But try to imagine what one like Edward R. Murrow or Walter Cronkite would say if somebody tried to discipline them for saying the obvious, okay? Because that's what that is.
But there are two parts to that. You have journalists, capital J, who are disciplined for saying the obvious, and then we are then allowing the obvious to not be said, if that makes any sense. We're allowing all the egregious stuff to go by unchecked, unresponded to.
Oh, yeah, I could talk about that all night. A good deal of what passes for modern news coverage is avoidance because people don't want to alienate watchers, readers, listeners, sponsors, instead of the old reporting the news without fear or favor because you need to get people information that they need to have.
I just wish we had a higher news literacy quotient where people understood what news was supposed to be, what the rules is governing broadcast news versus cable news. And I say cable news in quotations because if you're watching it on cable, it ain't news. It's opinion and editorial, and understanding the difference between the two and recognizing that if you're watching it on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News with varying levels of credibility, it's no different than Comedy Central and The Daily Show because they're just giving you their take on the news and they're highly filtering, that's one word I'll put it, and curating what is going to be covered.
I don't think they're all equal, but your point's still well taken. I'm not interested in liberal or conservative news. I want news and facts. I want the powerful held accountable. I want information I want to know what's true and what's false. And we're not getting that. We are definitely siloed so that if you want, you can stay in your own bubble and only hear things that you want to hear, but that's not really any way to function.
And going back to the Allen Media story, this is not that, but it's very close to that. When you have fewer legitimate outlets which are giving you targeted and specific news relevant to you and where you are, then you are more easily manipulated.
There's no question about it. And, my very first newspaper job was at Gannett, which was known for buying up little papers and sort of McDonaldizing them. I can say this categorically. Media consolidation is always, without exception, bad for the consumer. Might be good for the stockholders, not for you who just need to know what's going on.
I'll put it in another context that I think people would more easily understand. Remember once upon a time, you would turn on, just in a music context, you turn on your radio and you'd have a playlist of songs that people in that particular area, city, or county wanted to hear. It's you calling in, and I'm not going to get into payola, but still, that playlist was largely curated for that particular area. Now you turn on the radio and you have a playlist which is curated by someone probably 4 states away, and all the stations sound pretty much exactly the same. Exactly the same, playing the same music. And people don't have a broad appreciation of music because they're all hearing the same 18 damn songs.
That's no fun, and it doesn't help anybody. And, you could translate it to all sorts of media. Like, one reason that I still to this day will enjoy watching a little bit of Route 66, it's because all the regions looked and spoke and acted differently. And now almost every place looks the same.
Sounds the same.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. And so it does nothing but harm people when you get rid of local personalities, local coverage. It's just bad all the way around. I can't think of a single thing to recommend it, except, like I said, if you're a stockholder, but there's got to be more to life than that. I mean, there's got to be a point at which you say, I guess I've got enough money to be okay for 10 lifetimes. How about we just go with what we got?
Not in this capitalistic society.
I'm not against capitalism at all, but I think it has to be regulated at the point right before it starts to eat itself and kill people.
It's weird for me because people will complain about the price of eggs. Let's tie it all together. Complain about the price of eggs. You complain about the price of milk. You complain about how the rent is too damn high. And then you don't realize, well, this is what you want. This capitalism is about winners and losers. It's a sum total game. It's a zero sum game. If someone is going to be making more money, someone is going to be making less money. And if you find yourself always complaining about, oh my gosh, everything is so damn high, don't blame the government. That's what you asked for. This is what you want.
There's no ideal ending point to the type of rapacious capitalism that you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no point where you win. It's like, you've always got to grow no matter what, and there's no stopping it. And that's where regulation comes in.
Oh, you're talking about like quarterly earnings meetings and things like that?
Yeah, that language that I don't really speak very well. I get that stuff in the mail from my 401ks, and it just goes right into the shredder.
Yeah. It's later with Mo Kelly. Let's lighten it up a bit. When we come back, let's talk about Erection Honey. KFI AM 640, we're live. Yes, Erection Honey.
Thank you.
Now, I didn't say erection, comma, honey, but Erection Honey.
Back to you, darling.
Only on Later with Mo Kelly can they make a turn like that. Talking about the seriousness of capitalism and then, yeah.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Sometimes I'm kind of glad I'm not on the club scene anymore. In fact, many times I'm really glad I'm not on the club scene anymore. The stuff you have to watch out for, man, it's really changed over the years or so. There's a warning out. There is a deadly new drug out there which is being sold as a quote-unquote natural aphrodisiac, except it's laced with Viagra. It's called Erection Honey. That's the name, not erection, comma, honey, just Erection Honey. Packets of honey, comma, laced with erectile dysfunction drugs, such as Viagra, are being sold as an all-natural aphrodisiac. And they're being seized in record quantities right now in France, but the trend will probably spread here. No pun intended. Authorities have warned customers they are taking serious risks by consuming the honey due to its potentially deadly effects. French customs officials said last Monday that a record 31,000 tons of the illegally imported honey, but tainted with drugs like Viagra, was seized in the country last year. 31,000 tons. The packets of honey and gels sold as shots or sticks with names like, oh gosh, they did not. Names like Black Horse and Biomax are often sold surreptitiously in clubs and other nightlife spots. Use of the aphrodisiac honey has increased in recent years, but very, very dangerous. They often contain chemical products like sildenafil and tadalafil, the main substances in Viagra and Cialis. And in 2021, health authorities warned of several cases where the honey had caused convulsions, cerebral edemas, and acute kidney injuries, and erections lasting longer than 4 hours. France's customs office said the honey was seized was mainly entering by ship from countries including Malaysia, Turkey, Tunisia, and Thailand. The biggest find was made in the Mediterranean port city of Marseille. Some 13 tons worth about 860 in around 860,000 sticks in a shipment from Malaysia.
That's a lot of
sticks.
A lot of sticks, yeah.
Yeah. There's a risk.
I'm trying to be ready this time.
You were only 10 seconds late.
You might need some erection honey.
Timing's everything.
Erection, comma, honey. If you take too much, you risk epileptic seizures, hemorrhages, or kidney problems.
Hemorrhages?
Yeah.
From
I guess,
the erection?
Well, it didn't say. It could have been brain hemorrhages. I don't know.
Oh, God, I'm trying to
I don't know.
Where's the hemorrhage at?
Well, any hemorrhage is probably bad.
Yeah,
but is this because the dose isn't regulated? Like you just take a pill normally, but you could just say, let's cover this whole bagel with the honey.
Probably because as far as I know, they're ingesting it. They're not swabbing it and lathering it all. Never mind. In France, men usually can be treated for ED for a variety of options, but I guess this is a sexier way to go about it, where you just ingest the honey and you're ready to go.
Put in a little tea, huh?
Yeah. Younger people are going for this in a big way, according to trends, thinking they can match the performances to be found on porn sites, because we all know porn is real.
That's so wild and sad.
You know what? When I was in my clubbing days, there were always pills around. Yeah, you could find coke. Ecstasy was real big back then.
Ecstasy was huge, yeah.
But I never had any desire. I mean, yeah, I could have gotten it for free, but I saw too many people lose their jobs, lose their lives, lose their livelihoods, falling prey to drugs. So I never had any desire to.
Specifically Viagra?
Well, for me, it's all one thing. It's drugs. So if someone is giving you some sort of mind altering or body altering substance in a club situation, for me, that's a absolute hell no.
Well, at least put on a white lab coat, okay? Don't just like give me a pill from some dude.
It's not even a pill. It's a honey packet.
Yeah, it's like a little. Yeah, you squeeze it in.
And yeah, like not to like victim shame, but it's like you really just gonna buy something from someone in a dark club like that. But then again,
people
if you're
do
22,
right. Yeah, people
you don't
do.
care.
They buy that stuff from people they don't know with effects which are not quite known. And obviously the dosages are not regulated, but look,
wait a minute. I just thought about this. Is this so that people are having sex in the clubs? Because if it's an aphrodisiac and it's for erectile,
right there.
Then, so are they getting it in on the dance floor?
Look, all I can say is, how can I say this?
Say it carefully.
Okay. In my wayward days, many, many years ago, there were some times and some places I'm not exactly proud of. But there is more than a couple club bathrooms which might have memory of me. That's
okay.
So don't take a black light into those rooms.
Well, hopefully they've cleaned them in the past 35 years.
Well, you never know.
Maybe use bleach, in the 1990s at some point.
Sandblast it.
And at the speed that the clubs shut down, it's probably not even there.
Yeah, most of the clubs I went to in the 90s.
I'm sure they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
Red Onion, Mr. J, Cadillacs.
All of them.
Florentine Gardens.
Florentine Gardens is still there.
It is?
It's still there on Hollywood Boulevard.
Absolutely is. I
Wow.
think that people,
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never done anything in Florentine Gardens of that nature.
I honestly thought that was just like a bare building until I actually had to drop someone off there, and it was packed on a Saturday night.
This is the thing I can't understand about the Hollywood Florentine Gardens. It's just a big ass dance floor. I don't know what it is now, but when I went there, it was just a big warehouse dance floor and bars on the opposite ends.
And it's the only one I've been to, not been inside, but when dropping someone off or picking them up, where it doesn't look appealing on the outside. It looks like just this old rundown building.
It's always looked like that. Back in the day, it just had lights on it. I think it had bright lights on it, different colors up in the pillars.
But it had a great promotional campaign with Power 106 back in the day. It was like everything that Power 106 was doing, they were doing it at Hollywood Florentine Gardens.
Yeah, it's back when they were like a dance station. Dance, Debbie Deb, that kind of stuff.
All right, so this is kind of a naive question, but wouldn't taking one of those honey packets make dancing a little unwieldy and awkward?
Unless you're all up on it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you're taking the erection packet, you obviously want whoever it is you're dancing with to know what you're working with, to know what time it is, and to signal that it's time to, as Mo would say, head to the bathroom.
What do you mean to know what time it is? Like a sundial?
Yeah.
Something like that.
As you're dancing, you feel, there's a song. There's actual song, Too Close. The song,
But next.
Something feel my nature rising, and it's surprising, girl. You know what time it is.
He doesn't sing much, but
I don't sing. You get the point.
But I wondered, do 22-year-olds even dance anymore? Like together? They don't slow dance.
They do groove.
Did they experience that thing that we used to have called modesty?
Oh, hells no.
You're
no.
tripping.
Okay.
You're tripping.
All right.
Modesty.
Never mind.
No, that went out in like 1987-ish.
I feel like, all I see is couples. You can tell when it's a couple or it's a group of guys, group of girls, still like it was back in the day. I don't know what they're doing inside, but it's like, they still go in groups. So
I can only imagine with these dating apps, the whole swipe left and swipe right phenomenon. And people just, from what I hear, I honestly don't know. I've never been on any of these dating apps. What I hear, it's very easy to hook up with someone.
Yeah.
What I
no,
hear.
It's not. Because now every single profile is literally in bold print. I'm not here for the hookup. I'm not DTF. Keep it in your pants. Don't send me any. And I'm like, have all of you been scarred? You poor women. What is going on in the world?
That's true. And then there's ones that do say like, oh, not here for a long time, here for a good time. So
there's a couple of those, but those are usually bots.
Yeah. Cause it's broken English. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how, like your son, Tuala, his world of dating doesn't make sense at all.
No, it is weird.
It just makes no sense.
It's very weird.
Just tell him to stay home and keep the brutalist on a loop.
No, then no. No. It's like every other day he's going to hang out. He's like, so after work, Dad, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. We're going to go to this bar or go to this spot. We're just going to hang. We're just going to hang.
We kind of did that back in the day when we went to the Red Onion. We didn't have any money, so all we could do is hang out. But we actually danced back then. That's how we had the opportunity to meet women. You know, because if you could dance, then you could. You know, if you had moves, then they knew you had moves.
They knew you had horizontal moves. Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
No, that wasn't a joke. That was dead serious. I'm being serious.
No, I know, but just it is funny. Though.
Okay, we got
it is funny though.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from
And before we
KFI AM
get out of here,
640.
last segment we were having a discussion about dating. I'm just, really narrowing it down. Dating and how it's changed over the past 30 years or so. I don't know if courting is still a thing. Do guys actually try to court a woman? Try to date a woman? I mean, what's the whole mating process these days? Just doesn't make any sense.
from what I see, it's basically, yeah, there's always going to be, both sides are going to want to hook up, but a lot less people want to have kids because everything's just so expensive now.
Right.
So even if you get into a long-term relationship, half the time, like I've seen on the profiles, don't want kids. Like they'll know right then and there. So, I think it's not like back in the days when people would have 7 kids in one family and they'd be able to survive on one paycheck.
Yeah, that ain't never happening.
Not going to happen ever again.
That time is not coming back to America. I love it how people say, do you remember when? Yes. For the most part, I do. When I was growing up, you could buy a house for like $30,000. You could buy a car for $3,000. You could work in one place for 40 years. Just one income. And that would sustain the family.
And pensions were more common.
That time is never coming back. And that's why I get so angry at people talking about, well, let's go back to, when America was great, however you want to phrase it. Those times are not coming back for a number of reasons. My parents' lifestyle, 2 people who had incomes as teachers and being able to send my sister and me to college, that's just not financially possible anymore.
Well, part of the reason for that is that a lot of the same people who think that we should go back to like a 1950s Leave It to Beaver type of America also do not want the top 90% tax rate that made that possible.
You might be right. You might be right.
I mean, you can't eat your cake and have it too.
No, you're speaking from history. That was a real tax bracket.
Yeah.
And now we talk about not getting taxed. Yeah, I guess no one wants to give up any portion of their income. But at the same time, we want all the same services and also the other privileges which come with living in America. And it doesn't work that way. The math doesn't work out like that.
I'm worried about the beaver.
The show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I since we, but never mind. I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about something else because we were talking about. I'm going to stop trying to explain.
I try to be as straightforward and clean as possible on Later with Mo Kelly. I hope you know that.
Well, you damn sure weren't straightforward and clean as possible on your show.
I don't know what you heard. I was trying to be a perfect host.
I heard bra sizes and all sorts of other stuff.
No. You must have been listening to something else by like a Stern rerun or something. I don't know what you're talking about. This is
Stern rerun.
This is slander and or libel, and you'll be hearing from my people.
Your people. Now you got people.
Yeah, my people.
You do a show on Saturday. Now you got people.
We tried less stimulating talk. It ended poorly. KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.